What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 3 and Out YouTube page. I'm John Middlekauff, and we are talking football all day, every day. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends. Let's roll, baby. You know, one thing I was thinking is obviously the Rory moment. We'll play this probably after next week, but it was awful. But you had a moment last year, and I rewatched the highlight of Mario Cristobal giving a thumbs up on a run that led to a fumble that 2 plays later, the guy is running into the end zone, 3-point lead, where all he had to do was kneel the ball. Is there any difference of those 2 moments? Obviously, there's more on the line with Rory, but is that one of the worst moments in the history of one of the most famous programs in college football history?
It was not good. A couple things on it. I've always thought, I didn't know why he did it. He's done it before.
He did it at
First of
Oregon,
all,
and
he did
they
it at
fumbled, I
Oregon.
think, too.
Yeah. Don Chaney was down. First of all, his elbow was down, but that's no excuse. Just knee the ball. Somebody was the next day, I think on TV, said to me that was a fireable offense, and I said, "Well, let me tell you what Mario Cristobal is going to do. Mario Cristobal is going to get such good players that he's never gonna have to be in a kneel down situation against Georgia Tech ever again with a 1-score game. Okay, like that's why you hire Mario Cristobal. It's not game management.
He ain't Belichick.
He's not Urban Meyer. He's none of those guys. Okay, he understands how to recruit and develop talent, and he gets really big guys and he turns them into NFL guys. And big humans. When I say big guys, I mean big humans, and turns them into NFL guys. That's what it is. I was flustered at that whole thing. And I think he was asked about whether or not he was trying to get Don Chaney 100 yards, et cetera, et cetera. I thought it was just a brain fart. And I still really believe in the trajectory of that program just because, this, like, if you've got a credible coach in a place where there are players, you will win. And that's Florida, Florida State, Miami, LSU, Alabama, USC, if that ever gets off the ground in a meaningful way. If you can go in there and recruit your tail off, you will win. And so I'm still bullish on them. I just don't know. I hope it's this year. The kneeling thing, you want to mention the Rory thing. I actually thought it was more like a Gary Anderson kick. I also loved with the Rory thing, he had made the season 460 out of 68 out of 468 3-foot putts this year, and he missed that one on 16. I think the 18 one was a little longer than that, but like that was just like a chip shot. Some people were comparing it to the Vikings Seahawks chip shot. Remember a couple years ago? And
Blair Walsh.
Blair Walsh, when they were playing at the University of Minnesota, and he just, for whatever reason, just sent it into nowhere. Like, you have to make the putt. And I saw Rom today was like, it's a much harder putt than it looks. Well, then make it on 16 when it was a gimme. I think we're putting way too much effort into relitigating 18 and that putt rather than just understanding. Like, and this is the whole thing, right? Like, I think it was in Jimmy Johnson's book. He talks about how John Gruden always used to talk about the catch in San Francisco, and he'd say everybody talks about the catch. Nobody talks about San Francisco's fourth quarter pass rush. Because if it wasn't for San Francisco's fourth quarter pass rush, there is no catch. And I think you always look at those sort of things, and it's like with Rory, you could tell just little mistake after little mistake. And Bryson was doing the same thing. He got up and down in 18. And so it was a really funny thing just to see how that all interconnected. Very, very football-esque.
You could argue, and I was thinking about this the last couple of days, watching Mahomes or Josh Allen throw for 6 touchdowns or Steph Curry going for 50. It's a remarkable thing to witness. An absolute choke job or just a disastrous moment in sports is probably the most captivating TV. 28-3, Russell Wilson's interception, the Miami moment. You could argue that is by far Rory's missed putt. John Vander. There's nothing more riveting than just the Warriors 3-1, than implosion in sports, because it's the ultimate reality TV. And you're like, this cannot be happening. This cannot be happening. And then it does.
Well, I think golf is a different deal because very rarely do NBA players get the same exact look that a guy in an LA Fitness run would get. Maybe if he literally has a wide open layup, you just have to put it on the backboard and you're good. Like even the Patrick Ewing missed layup, we're not making that. Like, we're not going through traffic, that we're not doing that. And so with golf, it's so different because you and I know how it feels. We know how it feels. And like, I actually thought the other day, I was playing this really nice course in Long Island a couple of years ago, and I was just pars and birdies in the back nine. Needed to come up strong on the on 18, and I just topped it, and I literally had to remove myself from the hole, lost the match, and like we know what that feels like, and so when we see someone like Rory over a 4 foot putt that you and I make, and he can't make it, we know it's mental. We know it's mental. And that's the funniest thing. It's not mechanics. Like, even like I remember when Jake Knapp was winning his first tournament a couple of months ago.
Oh, I bet on it. I won.
There you go. But like, he starts off on Sunday and he can't find the fairway. And it was so obvious that he wasn't using his lower body at all. It was all hands. He was not doing what you and I do. And it's just funny to process that in golf and be like, oh, I know what he's doing. Whereas in football, I don't know. Oh, Mahomes drifting too far to his right. What the hell does that mean? Like it's just so different. Golf is the relatable sport. And I'd say probably maybe tennis too, but it's just a completely different gravity there. So golf is a different, watching someone choke in golf is so painful because we've been there. No one is clutch in golf.
Yeah, and in football, I talked to Jeff Schwartz about this. Like in the Miami situation, most people are not blaming the running back. Like fumbles happen sometimes. You blame the coach, right? Think Seattle, Pete, what are we doing calling a pass play? 28-3, Kyle, run the ball, which is a little unfair. I mean, the head coach could have easily told him. We just, in football, think about the Ravens, who they never were in the lead, but they were the heavy favorite going in that game. It's like, what are you guys doing? Todd Monken got more of the heat than Lamar. That's what's crazy about the sport, which to me makes football so interesting, is it's not just the players that are the main characters, the coaches and the coordinators, you could argue in the television show that is the sport, play a huge role, are main characters.
Great point. Todd Monken. Have you seen the stat about the AFC title game with light boxes? Have you seen it?
No, I have not. I don't even want. I lost $5,000 on that game. I can't believe he didn't run the ball. What are we doing?
If you've never heard it, it's going to stop you in your tracks. So the Ravens ran 38 plays against light boxes in the AFC title game. Against just light boxes, 38 plays. How many of those 38 did they drop back to pass?
Well, I looked at the box score the other day. Lamar only had 8 runs, and I would imagine 3 or 4 of those were on scrambles. So 80% of them?
Yeah, no, 37. 37 of 38.
So basically 97% or something?
97%. He had one ball carry where they were like, hey, there's a light box. We're going to take advantage of that. And that to me is almost like the Rory thing, where it's like Todd Monken got in his head and he couldn't get out of his head. And I think I think he's going to do better from that, because I just don't think he can do any worse. You're going to understand it can't just be a Lamar passing masterclass. It can't be a running masterclass. It has to be a combination of both, and finding that balance, talking to Lamar. Like, I had Steve Young on my show a couple of months ago, and he said, if everybody took a step back, and I know it's disappointing, but if everybody took a step back and saw last year as a transition season for Lamar, one in which he won the MVP and made the AFC title game, if you frame it like that, it's a lot better, because he was learning a new offense. He was learning a new style of play in some cases. And so I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not just on Team Steve Young there, but I do think that there's room to grow here. We can't just say, oh, Todd Monken's always going to be like this. No, you learn what to do when you're playing the Chiefs this time next year, or the Bengals or the Bills or any of these teams.
I don't disagree. Like, in theory, like Patrick Mahomes is a much better player now than he was 4 or 5 years ago when his stats were insane. But you only get so many moments, whether it's sports or in life, where you got to take advantage of. They had the better team. They had so much momentum coming in. They're at home, and you had this great I knew a guy in the Ravens staff. They literally called the defensive coordinator Boy Genius. He's now gone. The defense was rolling. They played well in that game, beside a couple drives, and you just don't get those moments back. It's like the Niners. Who knows? I hope they get back to a Super Bowl, but they might not. And they had 2 opportunities where they had chances to win both games, and it might not come around for a long time. So that's the hard part about football, especially with, this isn't college football, the parity, the randomness sometimes. Maybe you have a year where two balls bounce the other way. And it's the difference between 11 wins and 9 wins, and you miss the playoffs or something.
Yeah, and also the way, I mean, football changes beneath your feet so quickly, man. You know this, but I mean, the idea the Eagles would want to get out of Carson Wentz's contract as quickly as they did. Astounding. Would have been astounding if you heard of it the day he was signed. Yeah, even like Jared Goff, right? Like, I mean, this stuff, it just changes
Russell Wilson.
so quickly.
They
Russell
traded
Wilson. Russell Wilson. Aaron Rodgers. Who knows? But it's like, I think
he's currently high in an international waters. He's good. He doesn't care.
But it's like in boxing, they say the punch you don't see coming is the one that knocks you out. Like, it's not about, for the Ravens, it's not about, hey, the Bills are coming, the Bengals are coming, the Chiefs are coming. We know all that. It's also who's going to get to the Ravens level this year. Is it the Texans? Is it, I mean, like, we just don't know. Is it the Colts? Is Anthony Richardson is going to ball out and just raise that ceiling, and all of a sudden the Colts are just as good as a team like that? I mean, like, it's just completely it's just even more so than we give it credit for. It's a year-to-year league, and you have to take advantage of those. I just think that with Lamar, I just don't think that this is a short-term thing. I think he's going to be good like this for 4 or 5 years at least.